Good morning. Our headset microphone is due to come on a FedEx truck tomorrow, so I'm really looking forward to it. I'm kind of getting tired of all the hardware. This morning, our text is a preview of the birth narrative of Jesus from the first chapter of the book according to Luke. Here we see Mary after she's been visited by Gabriel to say that she is going to have the most remarkable son the world has ever known. And this is her response. And Mary said, "My soul magnifies the Lord, and my spirit rejoices in God my Savior. For he has looked with favor on the lowliness of his servant. Surely from now on all generations will call me blessed, for the Mighty One has done great things for me, and holy is his name. His mercy is for those who fear him from generation to generation. He has shown strength with his arm. He has scattered the proud in the thoughts of their hearts. He has brought down the powerful from their thrones and lifted up the lowly. He has filled the hungry with good things and sent the rich away empty. He has helped his servant Israel in remembrance of his mercy, according to the promise he made to our ancestors, to Abraham and to his descendants forever." What a difference a letter can make. My sermon this morning actually started a couple of weeks ago as our family sat in our living room watching a movie. It is uncommon indeed for the four of us to be at home, let alone do the same thing at the same time. So it was a real treat. There we sat, enjoying the movie and each other's company until a dreaded commercial break interrupted our viewing. Our attentions immediately went in other directions as we used this valuable time to refill our water glasses and catch up on quick conversation before the movie resumed. But that's when it happened. The commercial that had interrupted our viewing pleasure, which by the way we muted, was showing people of different races and ethnicities, in groups and alone, all with these heartwarming smiles on their faces. The caption that appeared throughout, overlaying these photographs, was versus VS that dissolved into US. Versus us. By the time we all realized what we were seeing, and each of us made a flying leap to the TV changer to turn the volume up, it was gone. Just as fast as it had appeared. So there was no recalling a certain organization, no visiting a website, no remembering a certain cause, just the bygone visions of warm, smiling faces on people from all walks of life, from all over the globe, participating in one human family. This is not a new concept. I mean, we talk about it all the time here at the church. Many of us find time in our busy schedules to volunteer at places like the Micah Ministry and Family Promise, assisting the homeless and near homeless in our community, regardless of race or nationality. Or there are others in our midst which give their time in the prison system or local charities that help those who are down on their luck and have found themselves in really the worst of all circumstances. And still others travel globally to create hospitals and schools, help rebuild after natural disasters like the most recent devastation that we saw in Haiti and Japan. We not only talk about it, we live it. by bringing God's peace and justice to our communities and the world, recognizing all people as integral parts of the family. Just because we talk about it and do it, though, is no guarantee this kind of social justice work is going to change the world. It brings to mind the story that Kristen shared with us a few weeks ago about finding the lone starfish on the shoreline and throwing it back into the water so that it would live. It's probably not going to change the fact that the echinoderms are washing up on the shore, but it will make a difference in the lives of the ones being thrown back. That's why most of us take part in this kind of humanitarian work, to make a difference in the lives that we touch, knowing that we will most likely never touch enough to change the trajectory of the global problem. It's inevitable that to cohabitate on this one small planet and to thrive, we must always see one another as a communal family, regardless of the colors of our skin, the dialect that we speak, the gender we portray to the world, and the hand that we hold. Nothing is large enough to put us at odds with one another, or so it should seem. As logical as it may be, as consistent with most world faith traditions, the inhabitants of this world cannot seem to get it together and realize that we are all cut from the same divine cloth. At this point in history, where global unrest is the norm rather than the exception, such a realization of peace and justice among all people would be nothing short of a miracle. But guess what? The story of the coming of Jesus tells us that miracle wins. Another event that's garnered much attention over the past couple of weeks and is still going on is a gathering in Doha, the largest city in the tiny nation of Qatar, off the eastern coast of Saudi Arabia. It is there that delegates from 194 countries are meeting to commit themselves to address climate change brought on by global warming. One of the goals of this year's discussion is to simply firm up their earlier stated objective: to keep the rising temperature from escalating so quickly. But the truth of the matter is that the temperature is increasing and doing it far more rapidly than earlier thought. And unless swift and aggressive measures are taken to reduce heat-trapping emissions, the world could fall much further behind in its efforts to curb this downward spiral. Over the past several decades, Earth's polar ice caps have gotten a lot of attention due to their alarming decrease in mass. Reports from NASA suggest that sea ice in the Arctic has been declining at a rate of 9% per decade since this measuring began in the 1970s. When first measured, the ice cap covered approximately half of the Arctic Ocean. That's less than 40 years ago. As of September of this year, the cap measured just under 24%. Now, my understanding of the way this all works is that carbon emissions from burning fossil fuels, the decreasing real estate occupied by rainforests, and methane gas produced by landfills, livestock, and producers of oil and gas contribute to the rising temperatures around the globe. When the temperatures rise sufficiently, the ice begins to melt, raising the level of the ocean and decreasing the mass of the ice. When sunlight reaches the surface of the earth, rather than being reflected by the ice, it is instead absorbed by the water that the ice used to cover, increasing the ocean's temperature. This only adds to additional melting of the ice sheets. Josefina Comiso, a senior research scientist at NASA, found that the rate of warming in the Arctic over the last 20 years is 8 times the rate of warming over the last 100 years. Meaning that the problem is growing exponentially. In the past decade, polar ice caps have shown their most rapid decline in size with no obvious signs of recovery. Many predictions have been made as to when the polar ice caps may completely disappear from the Earth. I'm glad you're all sitting, because the most conservative estimate is the year 2030. I think that's 17 years from now. I said that was the most conservative estimate. Most estimates have it happening earlier. Now, as Kristen and I shared some of our thoughts this week about the summit in Qatar, considering this global climate change, the warming of the oceans, the rising of the oceans, which is taking our beaches, the prediction of much stronger water-based storms like hurricanes and cyclones, we were nearly speechless. But few are speechless. There's rhetoric flying around ranging from environmentalists who are bringing all of this data to light that are pointing toward this global warming and its sinister effects. And then on the other hand, the big money fiscal conservatives who claim global warming is simply a hoax. Well, I think we all know which side has the data to back them up. Now, I don't know about you, but Kristen and I think that topics like this are the things that keep us awake at night. So with all this rational, totally provable evidence, it's really hard to see past